Joining me now with his thoughts on the two tax plans, Republican Congressman from New York, Chris Collins. Good to see you,
with you, Trish.
Congressman. All right, let's start with state and local, because that's a big concern, obviously, for anybody from the New York area, given that we pay so much in income tax, both in terms of state and then in municipalities, for example, like New York City, you're also paying an additional near 4%. Do they need to rework this one? Is there any wiggle room there? Or are you telling me that, you know, New Yorkers and Californians and everyone else that has any kind of income tax will not be able to deduct it?
Well, it appears the Senate is going to eliminate all SALT deductions, state and local taxes. And for my district, Trish, it's a non-issue. 98% of my taxpayers, my constituents, will not be itemizing regardless. The average home in my district is $152,000. Average income, $59,000. About 25 to 30% itemized today. But by doubling the standard deduction from $12,700 to $24,000, even if they were itemizing, taking $14,000 or $16,000 of SALT, the new standard deduction at $24,000, only 2% at most of my constituents will even itemize. So frankly, it's a non-issue, and I think that applies to almost all of upstate outside the 5 boroughs and Long Island.
So here we are in an environment where almost Atlas Shrugged, like it just doesn't matter because 98% of people aren't going to be affected. I mean, Congressman, I guess I would ask you this. Remember, New York and California equate for 22% in total of U.S. GDP. So New York and California, we mean something. We matter. We're a big deal. And a lot of that productivity is coming from right here in none other than New York City. If you want to grow the U.S. economy, don't you need places like New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles to grow as well?
Well, we do, but the main thing we need is a governor who's never seen a tax that he doesn't like or want to hike. He's got to get rid of that millionaire's tax that's been here for his entire term. It was supposed to sunset 2 or 3 times, initially started by our then Governor David Paterson, and every time it's getting ready to sunset, Governor Cuomo extends it another 2 years, now through 2019. That is the tax gouging, truly gouging, the successful in Manhattan, on Long Island, and then you throw in Bill de Blasio's egregious tax on top of that. But when I've looked at the elimination of the SALT, it doesn't hit as hard as people say, because these upper incomers, Trish, already lose 80% of their SALT the way the itemized tax deductions work today. You know, a very successful hedge fund guy with $800,000 of SALT deductions today, he could only ever get credit for $160,000 of that. And now he's going to take a $24,000 standard deduction, difference of $135,000. And while that would suggest he'd pay $54,000 more on his $5 million income, because the brackets have shifted, believe it or not, he saves $58,500 by the shifting of the brackets, and we don't claw back.
So I'm glad you brought up hedge fund guys, sir, because that's another issue in all of this. I'm calling this the fat cat loophole. It actually doesn't apply so much to hedge funds as it does private equity investors. These are investors that basically take your money or my money, and they say, okay, we're going to make this work for you guys. We're going to put this into a fund, and we're going to invest in these different companies, these different funds for 3 years, maybe 5 years. And then we'll take 2% of that money that we're investing for you. That'll be our income. And so they pay income tax on that. And then the rest, they say, hey, if you guys do well, if you have upside in that fund, we're going to take 20% of that upside. And then they somehow decide to tax themselves on investment instead of income. The president promised to close this loophole, and you guys didn't. How come?
Well, that's what we call the carry interest loophole. It should be gone. You can't defend it. It's unconscionable. It appears that it's still in there. I can't defend it, won't try to defend it. I wish it was gone. That could have given us some more money to do something else. But, Trish, no plan is perfect. You can't let perfect be the enemy of good. And what we have is very good for 95 to 98% of New Yorkers, certainly in my district, if not 100% in my district.
Yeah.
And I can't defend the carry interest because that's bad policy and it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and it's very good for the top 1%ers that are in this private equity field.
Yeah, it's those in that private equity field, not necessarily the top 1%ers, but there's no question it shouldn't be there, and it is.
Why? I mean, after everything the president said, I mean, did it not even come up? I mean, I've spoken to other folks in Congress who say, oh, well, we need to keep it there. It's investment, to which I like to correct them and tell them it's not investment. It's actually income. But I just don't understand why it's still there.
I don't either. I'm on the Energy and Commerce Committee. Great committee. I'm not on Ways and Means. And so I've not, although I've been part, certainly our conference is weighing in on everything. I certainly did weigh in that we should eliminate the carry interest loophole. At the end of the day, it didn't come through the Senate or the House. Can't explain why, can't justify it. But this tax reform that we have is going to save money for 95 to 98% of my constituents in New York 27. And I would tell you 90 plus, if not 95% of all New Yorkers. There's always an outlier, somebody that for whatever reason might pay a few cents more. But this is going to jumpstart our economy with lower corporate taxes. And as people have more money in their pocket, they spend it.
I don't know if they're going to have that much more money in their pocket. I mean, Congressman, this is where we sort of, I think, really start to differ on this. I don't think $1,000 is going to mean much to people.
Oh, well,
there was an opportunity to do a whole lot more. And you're not doing it.
I disagree.
I like to see the corporate tax rate lower. I think that's great. But there were lots of other opportunities to make this better for the individual.
Yeah, but Trish, the average taxpayer in my district pays $4,000. To get that cut by $1,200, that is a really big number. And these are folks, if you look at what the statistics have said, a third of Americans don't have $400 in the bank to fix a flat tire. So you can't poo-poo $1,200 and say it doesn't matter, because they are going to spend it. It is going to circulate through the economy.
And I want more for the people that are actually paying the taxes. I don't like things like bubble taxes that hit people, costing them 12% on a $200,000. Unfortunately, my producers are telling me, gotta go. So we can keep the conversation going.
Okay,
I mean, I appreciate, by the way, what you did on the
Anytime.
private equity side. That's good. It's good to see someone stand up against that. So keep it up. Thank you so much, Congressman Collins.
Okay, Trish, good to be with you.
You bet. We'll be right back.